Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Oh, I have to add myself. Whoa! Welcome, everybody, to Free Energy Friday. I hope you guys are excited as I am. I am your host, Ashton Forbes. It is once again another time for science and technology. I hope you're excited. Also, it's my birthday. Oh, so I'm going to dance. We'll just show you a sneak peek. Okay, sweet. I'm just engagement farming. We're engagement farming for my birthday. Okay, guys. So tonight we're going to look at a little bit more into the Schwinger limit. There's a good video that somehow I missed yesterday. And then we're going to look at a deep dive into Ken Shoulder's work. I've got a lot of links to look at, so I hope you guys are excited for plasma, exotic vacuum objects, and then looking at the limit that physics can take us to. So right before we look at this, I want to point out that a lot of the theories in physics don't have to be simple, but the best ones usually are really simple. Space is not empty. We have an equilibrium of energy that we are sitting in that we can interact with. I think that Julian Schwinger understood this because when you look at the stuff that he was looking into, he was looking at how does stuff work on a quantum scale and how far can you go before you break that, before you reach the Schwinger limit. So we're just going to jump right into this. Thank you very much for all the happy birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Lulu does too. She's right here next to me. Hi, little girl. Her eyes as blue as my pants, honestly. Yes, hello. Can I pick you up? No. If I try to pick her up, she'll bite me, but she's looking real cute. Okay, let's just jump right into this. So this first video is a video on the Schwinger limit or effect. One thing I wanted to say on this as well is that science has changed from how it used to be. Like Jack Sarfati is a good example. I just saw somebody mention Jack Sarfati because now whenever we think of the Schwinger limit, we think of Jack Sarfati raging because he doesn't really get it or what have you. But like in the old days, there was only a small number of people that were like elite physicists that were searching for the answers. But we're in 2024. You don't have to be going to some MIT or Ivy League school to understand physics. Everything's online. You can find all the theories. And then it's like, you got to decide what do you relate to in terms of your understanding of the universe? Do you relate to a bunch of people who have to make up a bunch of fake words because their theories don't really like answer all the big questions? Like, what is dark matter, dark energy? How can you travel fast from the speed of light? What is negative energy? You know, they just have to make up stuff. Oh, can't exist. We can't know. You know, or do you want to believe that there is a way to do those things, and what would that look like? If you're one of the people that thinks that there's more to this universe than just what we've been told at the surface, you know, then you're at the right spot here. This is where you want to be. Okay, so the Schwinger limit, if for some reason you guys are new to my stream, when we're looking at the Schwinger limit, we think this is what we're looking at right here. Why? Because Salvatore Paez basically mentioned the Schwinger limit when he saw this video in my interview with him. This is really big. Like, if we could get somebody on the record legally saying that what they're looking at here is breaking the Schwinger limit, like, this would be a very strong case for the legitimacy of this video. And since we're at it, Justin, thank you very much for the donation. Okay, MH370 question. Perfect timing. How do you hide a plane, a Boeing 777 at Diego Garcia? You probably have it underground, and then you just break it apart like the next day. Like, you just rip it to shreds, and then you just throw it away. And a couple pieces maybe get into the water, but nobody really asks any questions. And then by the time people figure it out, like, what are they going to say? I saw a plane getting ripped apart. How many people really know? A couple dozen? I don't know. But that's a good question because, I mean, there are people out there that know what happened in this plane. Even if you don't think the video we're looking at is real here, even though it 100% is, there's people that know what happened in this plane, no matter what the scenario is. And those people should start coming forward. Okay, there you go. Thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate it, man. So why is this cold, right? That's the big question here. If somebody's faking this, they're not going to make this a black cold event in their thermal video. The idea of negative entropy, negative energy. This is where the Schwinger limit comes into play. When we see this big black blob here, we're hitting the Schwinger limit. We're getting to a point where the electromagnetic field intensity is so strong that the space-time becomes nonlinear. If you want to think of that, Eli Prigogine wrote that from a nonlinear system, order would arise. And what does that mean? That means negative entropy. Things are going from being diffuse to like becoming coherent. The opposite of entropy. The opposite of everything's just like getting more and more complex. It's like, nope, just goes back to order again. So now let's take a look at this Schwinger limit video. And actually, there's no sound in this, so I'm just going to narrate over the top. Thank you, Chaotic Good, and all the other people. Appreciate it. Any sufficiently large electron fields, or in any electron fields, electron-positron pairs are created out of the vacuum. The field limit is known as the Schwinger limit, 10 to the 18 volts per meter cubed, or no, volts per meter. So this is the electrical limit. Above this limit, electron-positron pairs start being produced. So this is when above this limit, you're pulling photons directly out of the ether. That's the idea. So he won the Nobel Prize in 1965 with Richard Feynman for this discovery. They developed quantum electrodynamics. Okay, there he is. Schwinger, look at him. We watched a video yesterday. If you want to find my live stream from yesterday, you can watch. We watched a video of Julian Schwinger explaining some of this. Now, this I don't quite understand. As energy goes up, I think what he's saying here is pair production goes up. Something like that. I don't understand this slide, but that's fine. And then this slide here is showing that we're creating these electron-positron pairs here. The more energy we get to a part where we're just pulling energy out as time is forward. Another thing I found as well is that the energy goes up in the electron wave the higher the frequency. The higher the frequency, the more energy, which makes sense. And that also means the higher the time, like attosecond, the higher time you get up, the more energy you're getting out of your laser. So just here, they're showing the math on how to get to that Schwinger limit right there using E equals mc squared. This is the Planck constant here, this weird h with the bar, and then this is the speed of light. Small m is the mass. So here's the energy. So the energy equals the mass of an electron squared times the speed of light cubed divided by the this is like the electric constant of the electron times the Planck constant. And the Planck constant is basically the smallest wavelength that we can produce. So we're trying to get coherence with this h constant here. Yeah, this is the charge. This is the electron charge here. Thank you, quantum gravity. So if you look at that, that's not that many variables there. The charge of the field, the Planck constant, the speed of light, and the mass of the electron. Like, there's not much going on here. So really, this charge quantity is the one we're really interested in, right? Change the charge, change the energy. Now, this bar graph is awesome. Why? Because this tells you present day lasers up to 2011. This was 13 years ago, and they could already get up to 10 to the 20 watts per squared centimeter. Look at the Schwinger limit. It's like right up here. This is not a huge gap to fill. That was 13 years ago. So the faster our lasers are getting, the higher up we're getting on this scale. The more focused energy we're getting, the higher up. The faster the lasers get, the faster the frequency increases. You can see quantum plasma already arises somewhere around 10 to the 25. So we're basically trying to achieve some kind of Bose-Einstein condensate here. And when we get to an energy level that's high enough that it breaks through the Schwinger limit, like that's just maybe the ultimate, breaking point. Yeah, this infographic is on point. Is it going? I wish there was some music for this one, though. Hey, everybody who's joined in late. 10,000 times greater than the most intense lasers available today. That doesn't really seem like that much of a problem. Like, a lot of time we're dealing with numbers where it's like 10 to the 15. It's like, okay, so 4 more zeros. We're like, we can figure that out. And then at the Schwinger limit, Maxwell's electromagnetic theory becomes nonlinear. So this is the part where space-time breaks down. And according to Eli Prigogine, from disorder, it becomes order again. Negative energy. So we need 10 to the 9 Tesla magnetic field, or 10 to the 18 volts per meter from the electric field to break that nonlinear. Yeah, the elementary charge is Q to the E. So there's your equation right there. We were just looking at it to break the Schwinger limit. This, I don't really understand this graphic, but I do see the photovoltaic effect here, Hall effect. I was looking that up earlier, but I don't have a lot on it right now. So this, as well as observational reasons why we know it's real. We see it in black holes and magnetars right now. So we've actually got proof the Schwinger limit exists. It's a matter of understanding how it works with respect to the universe. It's manipulating gravity itself to produce fusion. High currents through graphene-based devices. It's graphene like every single time. Yeah. And then metamaterial effects. Okay. Let me save this one. Oh, shit. Shit, chat. Okay. Oh, shit. Oh, there it goes. The other one I wanted to show. Where's the cold fusion one? Crap. Okay. There was this other one about cold fusion that I want to show, but I think what we're gonna do is go into the research. I'm just looking at my bookmarks real quick to see if I can find the video. I've got some good stuff in here. I don't have it. Okay. Okay. So I want to give a shout out here to this researcher, ELH1. So you're probably never going to hear me say these words, but Reddit, you did a good job. At least ELH1 did a good job. Maybe I'm giving a little too much credit to Reddit here. Now, this EFH1, sorry, EFH1, I said your name wrong. EFH1, take a look at this. Account created March 8th, 2014. The day the plane disappeared. That's kind of weird to me. I'm not one of these synchronicity type people, but what? So this person has like a bunch of posts like all about Ken Shoulders and plasma research. So when I was searching for Ken Shoulders, this is one of the first posts that came up by this person 3 years ago. What does it say? April 8th, 2022. Not quite 3 years ago. They're kind of cheating with the math. And it's got 134 upvotes and 28 replies. Just as a quick summary of this work, it talks about Ken Shoulders, his connections. It praises him pretty heavily. It talks about his history. Says that he worked with Richard Feynman, or he like at least shared information with Richard Feynman. He was responsible for building some of the earliest microelectronics before there was even such a thing. Produced drones. And he invented EVOs. Not really invented it. It's like a product of nature. You can't patent nature, but he is credited being one of the first early like experimental physicists and engineers related to exotic vacuum objects. Bob Greenyer is referenced several times in this as well. And again, this is crazy because this is before I ever even knew who Bob Greenyer was. I had no idea who he was when this post was made. I didn't know this post existed. It also references Sapphire as well. Oh, no. I didn't want to click that. So I just wanted to mention some of these right off the bat. So I dug through this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to grab some water, and then we'll keep going here. Okay, we're good to go. No, I need real water. I got adult juice too, but we don't need any more of that. It's my birthday, guys. I've already been celebrating. Okay. So I'm going to skip through some of this stuff, but basically, if you're new to my stream, then this is important because plasmoids, we believe, are the secret to cold fusion. They're using the same recipe, basically. And that these plasma balls are pretty much what everybody's seeing as UFOs. And these plasma balls, we figured out that there's this self-coherent capability with plasma under zero gravity. And actually, it makes its own gravitational field in terms of how it interacts. So we can make these plasmas, though, without achieving super high temperatures. And this is why we use the term cold fusion. Now, this is important because Pons and Fleischmann in 1989, they came out and said they had achieved cold fusion, that there was transmutation happening, and this was being achieved at room temperatures. Conventional physics was saying, oh, you have to jam these atoms together. That's the only way that we can achieve fusion. We think that's what the sun's doing. The gravity is pulling it together. But some people out there went, no, why do we always have to assume that the best way is just to throw it together? It's like throwing rocks at each other and hoping some of the rocks hit each other. What if we just attack the problem more efficiently? Like we get to the root cause of the problem, which is that we're interacting with the ether. We have energy or matter interacting with the energy in an equilibrium state. If we attack it efficiently, let's say with some high-powered lasers that all have a very coherent, high-frequency energy to them, we can interact with that medium. Where instead of just throwing the rocks together, we can make sure that every single rock hits every other rock. Much higher amounts of efficiency in terms of interacting with the medium. This is where I think cold fusion figured it out, like negative energy. When we're interacting with that medium, we're producing negative energy. It's real energy that we're pulling out. We're just basically inverting the laws of thermodynamics, creating negative entropy, negative energy. And if we do that, we can also achieve fusion. It's a way of cheating and getting to the problem at a lower energy cost. This is why I agree with all the physicists that talk about zero-point energy, because once you realize there's a medium, we can go below sea level. We can go below sea level. That's all we have to realize. It's such a simplistic concept that the universe, the energy we see out there is a medium that we are swimming in. So Ken Shoulders realized this because he called this interaction of the plasma with the universe, with space-time, he called them exotic vacuum objects. Vacuum meaning they're interacting with the vacuum of space-time. Now, the plasma causes these clusters to form of electrons, which normally they should repel against one another. But in this plasmonic state, they actually start to cohere. And this creates a natural asymmetry, a natural dipole, which is why these balls of plasma are becoming self-coherent, self-organizing. The way I think of it is that they're making their own little black hole inside of them. One that is in some kind of equilibrium where it doesn't destroy everything, like they're too small or something like that. So this guy, the first thing he points out is that Ken Shoulders worked at Stanford Research Institution. Sorry. And this is way back. Like he was born in, I don't remember actually when he was born. But this is like in the 60s and the 70s. He's working with Hal Puthoff at the Stanford Research Institution. So we know Hal Puthoff was looking into EVOs, which is weird to me because Hal Puthoff was also this guy that's like in remote viewing and UFO stuff and working with the CIA. Like, if there's somebody that's going to know some stuff, like it's going to be Hal Puthoff. Like, how's this guy always referenced? This guy went there and visited and took pictures of all this stuff. So this is the part two where I want to say, like, I'm not the only person to figure this out. Like, there has been other people. And this is what I'm trying to tell people is this is all here and real. Like, if those videos were fake and I had never gone down this rabbit hole, we would have never found like this free energy plasma stuff related to this guy, Ken Shoulders. I didn't know who these people were. And you find out there's this whole history. Like, this person was so dedicated enough, they went down and took pictures of Ken Shoulders' like physical documents. Because like this person felt so compelled that like this person's stuff should be known to the public. And his response after he read all that stuff, Ken Shoulders is basically like Nikola Tesla of our era and discovered how to make a new kind of plasma that most physicists would claim violates the laws of physics. We're talking thermodynamics. But it's very real and, in fact, does not. Richard Feynman didn't believe him at first and then apologized in a letter. Additionally, it can be explained and replicated. It also explains many reports of cold fusion, and Ken documented it with a few others when he tried in earnest to patent and commercialize the technology. It's also covered in one of the DIRDs as ideal for further research. Wow, chat. Wait, where's my thing? Shit, I don't know. There it is. Oh, I've got so many things queued up in my brands. Hold on, let me get my other one up here in case we get some haters in the chat. White supremacy. There it is. Oh, perfect. Okay. Guys, tell me if we get some haters in the chat. I've got a new clip I want to queue up if we do. Can't wait to play it. I'm looking for haters in the chat. Ooh, I'm looking for you haters. Okay. So his stuff is covered in the DIRDs. I actually didn't believe that at first, but then I went back and looked at the DIRDs again, and it does look like it's like covered for like 5 pages. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was just going to be mentioned. No, it's like Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff are basically talking about his stuff is like using for energy, being able to produce energy. And yeah, explains cold fusion. So when people wonder like, hey, Ashton, why are you interested in cold fusion? Hey, Bernie. And I think about Bernie from time to time as well. It's because cold fusion was just covered up. It was just covered up. And God, I need to find the video. I'm going to have to think about it here for a second. It's real. It's replicatable. And Ken Shoulders' work, I think, proves that it's real as well. And so to me, I think that what happened here, if you look at it historically from a broad scale before we dig into it, is that cold fusion was figured out. And for some reason, the DOE jumped on it and debunked it. They faked some replication data where they weren't lying. They were just testing something different. Like they didn't pay attention to the fact that it's producing excess energy or excess heat as energy than what should be possible. They just ignored that part. And then they just started ridiculing it, saying, well, it's not possible. You can't be producing excess energy, right? Like just that's how it worked. It's actually eerily similar to what we did with LK99. Like we could literally see superconductivity, room temperature, but we were just, no, it's debunked. Like somebody failed to reproduce it. Ignore that. You never saw that. Wild stuff. Trying to think. I have to look for it. Okay. Let's go to the DIRDs. I want to look at the DIRDs first. I think he has links to all of them in here, but I have links on my own that I saved. So let me pull these up. Okay, here we go. Oh, God, a lot of Reddit tonight. This is going to be brutal. I think I'm going to switch the screen share to the other kind. Hold on. There we go. That'll make it easier. Okay. Ken Shoulders' EVOs mentioned in DIRD, extracting energy from the quantum vacuum. Topic is ideal to pursue for further research. Guys, I can't tell you how big of an endorsement that is right there. That's Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff in their dirt on extracting energy from the quantum vacuum, saying, like, this person, ideal for them is like, this is going to work 100%. Pages 17 through 22, 5 pages they wrote about Ken's shoulders and plasma. So why am I telling this? Because I feel like nobody had any idea about this plasma stuff. The plasma self-organizing. We can just make balls like drones out of it easily. The world has no idea. And they're going to blue beam us, and they're going to come out and be like, oh, it's the aliens. Everybody should freak out. Look, those balls look at what they're doing. Ooh, scary. And the smart people are going to go, oh, those are just some orbs that are going to teleport people. Just still pretty scary, let's be honest. But it's not as scary as alien invasion of conscious, plasma coming after us. Okay. We're definitely not reading 5 pages. Oh, wait. Yeah, let's just, oh boy. Okay, I've already read most of this, but I didn't highlight it here. So force-free plasmas, like a lot of the time they're talking about the same stuff, just in a little bit slightly different terms. That's just how physics works for some reason. So Bostic and Shoulders began collaborating and realized that EVs were much easier to generate and observe using micro arc discharge devices because they're usually obscured by surrounding plasma and high power plasma machines. So they developed their own kind of machines, and they started basically producing their own plasmas. So Ken Shoulders is one of the first people to realize this additional state that we have of plasma, where these electric charges begin clustering together, begin to do this. So the laboratory evidence, okay, here we go. Since electrons would not be expected to bind together due to their mutual Coulomb repulsion, a speculative model based on vacuum electromagnetic 0-point fluctuations was formed to explain the existence of the EVs. This is huge. This is in the dirt, by the way, guys. So when I talk about the dirts being some of the most significant scientific papers of our age, I'm not joking around. Like, people are going to look back at those dirts 50 years from now, and they're going to be like teaching them to students. I mean, hopefully, if we're still around. But what he's saying here is that when we test it out and create this plasma, we can see the electrons clustering together to form this weird asymmetry naturally. And we have to say, well, we're taught the electrons should be repelling. So what is the force that's keeping them together? How is that happening? This shows us there's something wrong with the conventional understanding of physics. Can't be explained. But if there's an attractive force that is offsetting it, pulling them together, and they said, well, what if it's the Casimir effect? What if the Casimir effect is what's doing it? When we take 2 plates and we put them close together, we see this weird attractive force because the 0-point energy is being blocked out. So then you go, oh, what if the universe is just electric and we can manipulate that force, that pulling force, based on high voltage and high current? If we can manipulate that force and create these eddy currents just like a boundary of electricity, we can create these eddy currents, we can potentially create this very powerful, attractive force. So the emergent laboratory evidence led investigators to consider the hypothesis that the Casimir effect may be a major contributing mechanism to the formation of EVs. Models based on Casimir and Puthoff and Piestrup, suggesting the generation of relatively cold, dense, non-neutral plasma results in charge consideration effects, which may be attributable to Casimir-type pinching effect. That is a 0-point fluctuation-induced pressure forces, in which the inverse square law Coulomb repulsion is overcome by an inverse fourth law Casimir force inward to yield a stable configuration of bound conditions at small dimensions. So what they're saying there is that we're able to produce a Casimir pulling in effect. And now it's just a matter of how do we configure that? How do we interact with that? Because once we realize that that Casimir effect is from the 0-point energy, we say, oh, let's just figure out a smarter way to interact with 0-point energy. And this is why I always talk about the dynamic Casimir effect. Because the dynamic Casimir effect is essentially them engineering it around to figure out an easier way to perpetually create this pulling in effect, which is just negative. It's anti-gravity, if you want to think of it like that, because it is. Wouldn't an EMP be an obvious, simple defense against EVOs? Yes. Yes. But the thing is, radio waves do not interact with, they can't interact with plasma. So you need a gravity wave. So yes, but in a very real sense, that's the same thing as, you know, a scalar potential is just taking an electromagnetic wave and zeroing it out. So yes, EMPs are your defense against this kind of technology. Like the universe is about to become electric. So hacking and EMPs and stuff like that is, you know, that's the future. The smaller the microchips get. Oh, here we go. We finally got a hater. Stop talking and prove something. Oh, yeah. The tank. Well, here's my response to you, sir.
Do you benefit from white supremacy in any way, shape, or form?
Do you benefit from white supremacy in any way, shape, or form? Do you? Until you answer my question, I'm not interested. Okay. Here we go. Get used to that, chat. You're going to see that one a lot. Oh, these white supremacists out here. You got to be careful. They're all over. Oh, yeah. I need to thank a couple people as well. Somebody just cash app to me. Jessica, thank you very much. I'm not going to say your last name because knowing my followers, you might get stalked. So I'm just going to say your first name. Jessica, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate it. There was another donation that I got from, wait for it, chat. Oh, shit. Somebody sent me. Okay, wait, hold on, chat. I have to thank the person. Cash app. Britt, thank you, Britt, as well for the $25 donation on the Cash App. I want to make sure I get that. So, Britt and Jessica, yeah. Thank you. For the record, this is water. Okay. So I want to harp on this just one more time. A lot of this, the crazy part about it, this is how simple it is. How simple this is. We have Coulomb repulsion. Our electrons we know must be repelling each other. And a Casimir effect pulling them together, counteracting that. So we're creating this pinching of space-time. The same way where if I were to look at my shirt, if I pinch my shirt, you see how I warp the shirt like that? The same exact thing. We're doing the same thing, but the space-time. And what's this doing? This is causing a flow of the elements to just come together. Hydrogen, whatever they all produce when they transmute together, whatever, fusion. We're causing fusion to happen when we do that. So then you realize, well, the secret isn't just trying to like force your stuff together. Jessica, thank you. Okay, wait, I got something special. Thank you, Jessica. Cheers to Jessica, chat. Woo! Free Energy Friday, changing the world. Okay. But the beauty of this is that you don't have to like know anything fancy to understand this idea of like, oh, we're just creating this like inverse gravity effect where things are going to pull together here and ignore gravity as we know it. And we're going to create this gravitational force where we're going to force fusion to happen. That's why when Ken Shoulder saw this, he went, oh, like cold fusion is real. Of course it's real. We're seeing how we can do it right here. We're seeing how we can do it. Just at the end here, basically says, Shoulders and collaborators subsequently investigated different sets of approaches to extracting useful energy from the vacuum by way of exploiting the EV phenomenon. Even though EVs can be produced in the lab, efforts to test this hypothesis have not been met with much success due to technical problems. The topic is ideal to pursue for further research. So, this is actually a link from Salvatore Paez's paper. So these people started to figure out that what they were reading from Ken Shoulders was very similar to what Salvatore Paez was saying. Because Salvatore Paez's high energy electromagnetic field generator, HEEMFG, was creating these extremely powerful electromagnetic effects that could break the Schwinger limit. And so people are like, oh, this looks like what this guy is talking about, this Ken Shoulders guy, when he's talking about confining plasma and using plasma to generate very powerful electromagnetic fields. Matter, energy, and space-time are all emergent constructs which arise out of the fundamental framework that is the vacuum energy state. This is Salvatore Paez. Everything that surrounds us, ourselves included, can be described as macroscopic collections of fluctuations, vibrations, and oscillations in quantum mechanical fields. Matter is confined energy bound within fields frozen in a quantum of time. That is a beautiful sentence by Salvatore Paez. This is why I like his patents, because it makes so much sense. Just, it's simple to understand. The quantum vacuum plasma is the electric glue of our plasma universe. The Casimir effect, Lamb shift, and spontaneous emission. He's talking about basically the Schwinger effect here. The Schwinger effect are specific confirmations of the existence of the quantum vacuum plasma. It's important to note that in regions where the electromagnetic fields are the strongest, the more potent the interactions with the quantum vacuum plasma. So here we go. What did he just say there? Regions where the electromagnetic fields are the strongest, the interactions with the quantum vacuum plasma are more potent. He's saying there's a relationship between the higher the electromagnetic fields. Yeah, I do think we have to think of the vacuum as a Bose-Einstein condensate. It's like perfectly efficient. It's creating this background equilibrium that we're swimming in. It is important to note that in regions where the electromagnetic fields are the strong, here we go. It's important to note that in regions where the electromagnetic fields are the strongest, the more potent the interactions with the quantum vacuum, plasma, vacuum plasma. Therefore, the higher the induced energy density of the quantum vacuum plasma particles which spring into existence, the Dirac sea of electrons and positrons. So, like, how do I know Salvatore Pais is legit? Because holy shit, like, I've been researching this and, like, it's just music to my ears. It's music to my ears. Me interacting with Salvatore Pais is going to be more beneficial to humanity than, like, any other PhD interacting with him that's a mainstream physicist. I don't even care about the UFO hearings anymore. I heard that they might be canceled. Doesn't matter. They were going to be garbage anyway. We don't need any more stories about blue aliens and the UFOs are underwater now. Oh, the UFOs are underwater. Thanks, Grandpa. That's what we were talking about like 20 years ago. It's 2024 now. Now we're talking about 0-point energy. You want to talk about if the UFOs are above water or underwater? Like, yeah, oh, cool. They're transmedium. Oh, transmedium, guys. That was like 2018's terminology. That was 6 years ago. You got to catch up. We're on the plasma now. Like, so when I interview Salvatore Pais, November 24th, don't miss it. This is going to be better than the UFO hearings are going to be. Well, you know what? I should have been full screen here. Salvatore Pais, Ashton Forbes, November 24th, going to be better than the UFO hearings. I'm going to ask real questions that deserve real answers, not like questions from little jerk-offs talking about, oh, is 2028 going to be the year where the universe ends? When are the blue aliens coming? Okay, I get it, man. If that's your thing, that's your fetish, like, cool. That's cool. But, like, I'm thinking a little bigger in terms of, like, can we change the world for the better, maybe, before we destroy ourselves? So that's what I'm going to be asking Salvatore Pais November 24th. I'm going to be asking him directly about the videos. I'm going to be asking him if he knows who made the orbs and other questions like that, where we're really going to get to the bottom of, like, what's going on with these patents that we're looking at right here with our eyes that we're reading that are saying that we can achieve and break the Schwinger limit. Because we've reached an intelligent enough point now where we can look at this and go, okay, what does this guy know? What does this guy know? So, first of all, I'm extremely grateful that Salvatore Pais is an American, that he's working for us, because anybody who's connected to all 5 of these patents, if these are operational patents that have been tested, then we control the world right now, which we do. We do. But for how long? Okay. I'm going to read the last paragraph. It is possible to reduce the inertial mass and hence the gravitational mass of a system and object in motion by an abrupt perturbation of the nonlinear background of space-time, equivalent to an accelerated excursion far from thermodynamic equilibrium. So thermodynamic equilibrium would be like saying, like, where we're at right now. We're in thermodynamic equilibrium right now. We're just chilling on the top of the ocean. We're in the lazy river. We're just chilling in our inner tubes on the lazy river, everybody. We're in the equilibrium. An abrupt excursion from equilibrium is like you're ripping through it all of a sudden. All of a sudden, we're pulling all the water out from underneath you, or you're splashing you with water. Boom. Oh, you're going to fall over, right? The physical mechanism which drives this diminution in inertial mass is based on the negative pressure, hence repulsive gravity, exhibited by the polarized local vacuum energy state. In close proximity of the system and object in question, in other words, inertial mass reduction can be achieved by manipulation of quantum field fluctuations in the local vacuum energy state in the immediate proximity of the object and system. Therefore, it is possible to reduce the craft's inertia, that is, there is resistance to motion and acceleration, by polarizing the vacuum in close proximity of the moving craft. Like, this is what we're using on our spy planes. We're using those concepts on our spy planes. We realize that we can manipulate electric charge, and when we do so, we modify gravity. And we can do so efficiently that we can, as you can see there, basically reduce inertia, reduce mass of an object. But then that begs the question, where's mass and inertia even coming from? Well, it's coming from that energy. So now we just move that energy out of the way. We've reduced the mass and inertia. How do you pull it off? When you look at the equations, you notice, and I don't really have a good visual to show here at the moment, there's always h bar. H bar is Planck's constant. So when we think of the Zitter-Buergang, we think of this energy field. What does that energy field look like? It looks like oscillations, little oscillations on the quantum scale, the energy field. Always little oscillations. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to interact with that oscillation on that scale. And I think, let me look at what my notes say here. We're going to look at a few more links. There's a relationship between Planck's constant and the permittivity of the vacuum. That's a weird one. So the Planck constant, the smallest scale, that value is related to the permittivity of the vacuum, which to me would say that we want to be attacking the problem at a frequency that has a relationship to the Planck constant. I want to get in phase with the sea of energy that's out there. I want to basically cancel out whatever's going on. I want to push that aside. That's just my thought. So again, also the energy of a laser is proportionate to the frequency. The higher the frequency, the higher energy your laser is going to be. And when they talk about attosecond, what they're saying is that they're increasing the frequency higher and higher and higher and higher. It's funny the way they talk about it to the public is a way like that deliberately throws you off the trail. Okay, what's my next thing? Let's take a look at this. So there was a paper. So they realized that you couldn't patent nature. So you actually can't patent this because this plasma is just like a product of nature. Ken Shoulders realized it starts becoming these self-coherent shapes, toroids and plasma and spheres. And so they couldn't even patent it. So what they tried to patent was a method and apparatus for non-neutral plasma injection in target elements. You have to patent an apparatus that produces it. You can't patent the actual production, like the plasma organizes like that. Kind of interesting. Which one is this? Oops. Is that the same one? This one's different. Oh, here we go. Okay, so this one's with Hal Fox. So Hal Fox also wrote another paper where he basically supports Ken Shoulders' findings. So as we also found that these EVs are pulling energy together. Now, as a quick intermission, for the people that are new to this, maybe I'll just let Tom Bearden explain it. Hold on. I think I have Tom Bearden clip for this. That way I don't have to work so hard. Oh, yeah, we got it.
The generator powered the external circuit. It doesn't. It does not power it at all. All it does is we twist the crank on the generator, the shaft, to turn the shaft, and that forms a magnetic field inside the generator, and that energy in that magnetic field dissipates itself upon the internal charges to force the positive charges in one direction and negative charges in the other and make that dipole. And that's all a generator does. It doesn't add 1 watt to the power line. All the coal, all the oil, all the dams ever built, all the nuclear fuel rods ever consumed, never added 1 single watt to the power line. All they did was keep rebuilding the dipole that we have designed the silly circuit to destroy faster than we can power the loads.
What a G. What a legend. So he's saying again, like all an alternating current generator is doing is you're creating your dipole. You're creating this asymmetry. And when I'm doing what I'm doing here, where my fingers move apart, is I'm creating more negative charge on the bottom than up here. That's all that we're doing. And this can be any direction. I'm just using this as an example. Keep your dipole open. When we do this and the charges separate, energy flows. So with our EVOs, these are the Rosetta Stone. I'm going to use that in all contexts because we're finding more and more like, yeah, this is the holy grail. This dipole thing is the holy grail in generators because you boil it down to the root cause of how we produce energy. We're just spinning a copper coil through a magnetic field. That's all we're doing. We're just interacting with electromagnetic fields. And then the work we're putting in there is converting to energy. But really, when you think about it, we're converting it to a dipole. We're creating this dipole. So we're finding there's this plasma state where we just produce this plasma and it just naturally creates this dipole. We just watch it and it naturally creates this weird asymmetry. And when it creates this dipole, it creates this magnetic field around it that's very, very, very powerful. And this is what causes our orbs to look like an orb of energy. And it reaches such a strong point where it's pulling photons directly out of the ether, which means that we're seeing light just come out of nowhere. Light. It's just a light bulb with nothing like it. Just the natural interaction with the ether is causing light to get pulled out. It's pretty beautiful. I don't think exotic materials are the key. I think that exotic materials are a debate, guys. Don't get debated. Don't get debated. You know, if she looks too good, she could be an agent of a foreign country or your country, just trying to learn information from you. Don't get debated. Metamaterials are sweet, but metamaterials are important for sure because manipulating the structure and the lattice of a solid object to make it perfect is really, really important when you're dealing with quantum phenomenon. It needs to be perfect. But if you make your object perfect on the quantum scale, at the atomic scale, then metamaterials become very powerful. Metamaterials are like weaponizing science into like very efficient products. Like you can have like a Thor's hammer maybe. But we don't need metamaterials in order to prove that cold fusion and anti-gravity are possible. No. The metamaterials make it so we get much more efficient much quicker. So a lot of this too is about like the commercialization of it. So they were talking about that this is basically an explanation of cold fusion. I gotta find the video. It's not this one, is it? Oh, maybe it is this one. Hold on. Oh, okay. We found it. Okay. I think we're gonna switch over and watch this video now. Actually, we can chill. Hold on. Let me see what else we got in this. Okay. So for people that say like Ken Shoulders is a pseudoscientist or whatever, like no, he's like the father of microelectronics. The stuff that he was inventing in 1950s didn't even commercially exist for another 20 years till the 70s. This guy was like building electronic stuff that the world didn't even know was real in the 1950s. And when you look at this, microelectronics. Why? Because he was smart enough to realize that we needed to interact with the ether. So the smaller, the better. Smaller, the better. And for the record, this has actually nothing to do with quantum gravity, the person in here, but quantum gravity is just a way for mainstream science to try to explain all of these effects without changing their underlying principles of the universe. Which at this point, you got to just accept there's an ether. Ether exists. Get over it. Move on. If you banked your life on the ether not existing, well, you know what? Your life was a lie. Ether exists. There's infinite energy around us, and we can tap into it. He also worked in drones. He was making drones. So Ken Shoulders knew Hal Puthoff, probably knew Eric Davis. He is making this plasma technology. He's like the father of microelectronics. He invented microelectronics before they were even known. And now he's also making drones in the 1970s. This is like what, 20 years, 30 years before drones were a thing? Drones are only recently a commercial thing, only like very recently. Last 20 years. He wanted to do it via a toy. He wanted to make a toy. One of his patents, I think it's this one. Oh, this is the one he did himself. Rotating aircraft system. Look, he's making a drone. 1974. He had a patent for a drone in 1974. Later, Blake. One of his other patents, I don't know if I have the link to it here, is for the Jupiter Toy Company. Oh, here it is. Look at this. Energy conversion using high charge density. High charge density. So what he's really saying here, now that we understand more about plasma, we're looking at this and going, they're trying to figure out how to make these plasma orbs convert into electrical energy. This may seem nerdy, but this is super important. In cold fusion, the biggest real problem is that most of the energy coming off is heat. It's heat. We need it in electrical form so that we can power stuff. So the question is, can we convert that heat into electrical energy using this same concept? Ken Shoulders was definitely thinking about it. How do I know? Because look at this. Disclosed our apparatus and method for obtaining energy from high electrical charge density entities. The energy may be received by the conductor of a traveling wave device positioned along the path which the propagating entities flow, the right-hand rule. Multiple traveling wave devices may be combined. Energy output from the traveling wave device may also be directed to the generation of a subsequent such entity. Thermal energy may be also obtained from an EV. Honestly, a lot of it is thermal energy. So they're throwing that on there. What he's saying is they're trying to figure out how we can pull that energy out in an electric form without all the rest of it being heat. If you guys want to know what the holdup is for cold fusion, the holdup is they're trying to figure out how to turn the heat into electrical energy. That's the holdup. They already have situations where coefficient of performance is higher than 1. The problem is it's producing heat, which then the best we can do is heat up a bunch of water and have it, spin a turbine and then turn a generator for us, which is not very efficient. We're not going to get the efficiency that we want. He talks about in here. I thought it was this patent. that there's like figure 51. Let me see how many there are. 97? Yeah, okay. Let me see if we can find it. There it is. 50, figure 50 right here. Look at that, chat. Wow. Hold up. If you don't get what I'm getting at here, just wait up. So this right here is Salvatore Paius's piezoelectric induced superconductor. That he says you don't need metamaterials to pull this off. This here, oh, come on, how do I do this? You're kidding me. Whatever. This is Ken Shoulders' energy conversion concept. Seems pretty similar to me, chat. What do you think? This Reddit poster that made their account on the day MH370 disappeared also thought they were similar. Anyway. Okay. What else was there? So EVOs were basically well documented and people were able to reproduce them. A lot like cold fusion, actually. And then it connects Sapphire Project here to Pudov and Davis, as well as Los Alamos. And then Bostic, I guess, had this electric universe theory, which I think is probably going to be correct. And then there's actually the interviews of Bob Greenier, because Bob Greenier is actually like one of the few people that's still pushing cold fusion, but they've rebranded. So cold fusion basically went through a hard time because they had all this disinformation. So a lot like UFOs rebranded as UAPs because they had too much negative stigma. So cold fusion had too much negative stigma, so it rebranded as low energy nuclear reactions. And now that's rebranding again into catalyzed fusion. So when you see catalyzed fusion, they're using a catalyst to produce fusion. It's pretty vague. They try to keep it nice and vague for the dum-dums out there so that they can just sell it and not have to worry about people going, that's not real, that's not possible. Physics said that vacuum is empty, there's nothing there, right? They don't want to deal with that. So he says here, you can read my comments on the post below. You can see how EVOs may be potentially related to the Piaz effect because they do, in fact, create the energy densities he claims here are necessary. In this particular paper, it's shown that we can reach Tesla of 10 to the 6 and 10 to the 19 joules per meter cubed using an input of 2.5 kilovolts. Stands to reason that if it scales, and I'm not fudging the math, an input approaching 1 megavolt should approach Pius's values, claiming that will bridge the quantum vacuum with general relativity. And then this paper right here is the one I was talking about. Look, this is Hal Fox. So characteristics of high density charge clusters, a theoretical model. This is the one from Hal Fox to Ken Shoulders. They were trying to patent this. So this other guy writes a paper too. He says the self-confined equilibrium properties of a moving EV are investigated, and necessary condition or criteria for which an EV could exist is deduced by macroscopic electron plasma fluid description. So macroscopic meaning we can see it, electrons in a plasma fluid. We conclude that an EV is a toroidal electron vortex and could exist at various combinations of the electron density. The directional velocity and size of the EVs in accordance with the derived criteria. The electromagnetic field strength and kinetic and electrostatic potential energy of the EVs are also computed with respect to the stated assumptions. A closed agreement with experimental data is presented. So they present experimental data, they do all the math, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, 1 million volts is how much that is. Hal Fox. So, I mean, if these people didn't think it was legit, this is a lot of work to go through for something you don't think is legit. But you realize, guys, it's more than just about discovering it. Like commercializing it, it's probably harder to commercialize than it is to discover it's real. You discover it's real, and then the first thing you learn is there's no material science set up in order to exploit this efficiently. We need microchips. Where's the conclusion? We have shown that the self-consistent equilibrium, and this is the self-organizing properties, the self-consistent equilibrium is only possible in a toroidal system. That is, the EV is a toroidal electron vortex. That's just a Yahtzee, chat, just a perfect Yahtzee. Why is this a Yahtzee? Because nobody could have ever invented these videos. Because what we're looking at here is a toroidal plasma. Wait for it, chat. These orbs spinning around the plane, right? Wait for it. When they zoom in here, you can see the toroidal field, the vortex field. You can see it. Right there, you can see it. That's what you're looking at right down here. You're looking at a toroidal electromagnetic field inside of a magnetic monopole. And this creates an umbrella effect, like a Tesla sign. That's why you see that field. Nobody could ever even think to invent this. There's like not even a sci-fi movie with a huge budget could even come up with this. Nobody in the world even knew this is what it should look like. That's what's crazy about these videos, but that's what also makes it so impossible to prove that it's real. Like there's another one on the other side down there. Is that because nobody in the scientific community knows what it should look like, then it's hard to be like, this is it. But more and more plasma science is coming out, and we've now seen images in the DOE on their website where their field of plasma looks just like that. And there you go. It's crazy that somebody thinks that somebody like what edited all these frames one at a time for the heat signature and all this. I get that that's hard to believe because that plane's gone, but that's why it's 10 years later and there's still no plane, you know? If this was right after the plane disappeared, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing this, but we need new answers. Okay, great. I want to get into this video that we've got for you guys here. Because I want you guys to see cold fusion. Okay. So now we've looked at Ken Shoulders' stuff. We've looked at the connections, Ken Shoulders here. But the last bit is what happened with this whole cold fusion thing? 1989, Pons and Fleischmann come out and they go, they skip the peer review process and they go directly to the media. And they say, we've got cold fusion. We say we've got fusion happening at small scales. We can see it happening. And it's producing anomalous energy, anomalous heat. Everybody immediately turns on them. Why? Because they went directly to the media as opposed to following the peer review process. This is important because I'm going to propose the end of the traditional peer review process. It needs to die. We live in a world now in 2024 where we have social media. We don't need, oh, I'm so-and-so. My ideas are more important, and anything that I don't think is worthwhile isn't going to be reviewed. We don't need that. That's not the world we live in anymore. The world we live in now, the peer review process is everybody. Peer review process isn't just, I went to MIT, I went to Yale, my degree in physics is, super smart, special, blah, blah, blah. We don't need that. No. We need people that are willing to allow ideas to be in the marketplace of ideas without gatekeepers. That's what we need. Okay, let's watch this, and you're going to notice a lot of similarities to stuff that we've seen related to disclosure of advanced science and technology. Oh, it's loud. Wow. There you have it. John Huizinga was in the Department of Energy, and he came out and said that, no, this goes against everything that we've thought about nuclear physics for the last 50 years. Do you hear that? He just admitted it. That was the man, John Huizinga. In fact, he wrote a book as well. And he basically in his book talks about you should have followed the peer review process and knock on the media first. Like literally, that's what he says. Do you guys realize how easily they covered this up? Like they just covered it up. And in some cases, I don't even think it was nefariousness. Like their ego just got in the way. Like Chris just said, it's an ego trip. Is that you realize, yes, you just wasted 50 years of your life. Of course they reacted emotionally. You just told those people they wasted 50 years of their life. Of course they reacted emotionally. And that's what happened with cold fusion. So we're only like 2 minutes into this thing, and you're seeing the guy at the DOE that basically just said, this violates the laws of thermodynamics. This is not real. Like, holy shit. Holy shit. People have died. They've died of boredom. They've died of people not believing in them. Because why? Because the science only gets funding if you suck the right people's dicks. Sorry, we're after dark here. So if the kids are watching, whatever, if you don't scratch the right back, you don't get funding. So they just discredited cold fusion. And then anybody that looks into cold fusion, they're not going to get funding because people are going to think that you're a crazy person. And now this true irony, we got to go full screen for this. The true irony is that hot fusion is a scam. Hot fusion is the scam. We're trying too hard. We're trying to jam these elements together, but we don't have the material science to pull that off efficiently. So the better way to do it is just let nature take its course. Just use nature. Realize that we can create negative energy, that we can cause the Casimir effect, and we can just cause the elements to collapse naturally. Just using that reverse gravity effect of the Casimir effect, this negative energy pressure. Ultrasonic cavitation bubbles of deuterium and electrolysis of heavy water likely has a bit of fission potential. That's the idea. Because when you're creating a cavitation bubble, you're pushing the water out of that area, and then it's going to collapse. It's going to collapse back down on that area. And you're going to have elements running into each other. The higher us released all the media on them to debunk it and claim it wasn't real and just make it taboo. How funny is this? Like, how much shit are we going to uncover here? Like, this is just crazy, man. We're literally just uncovering cold fusion, and the world's retarded, and they just didn't want to believe it's real. because too many egos were hurt. And we already had cold fusion in 1989. And if we had just researched it more, we could have had it publicly like 20, 30 years ago. But instead, now it's 2024, 35 years later. It's 35 years later, and we still are being retards. And primitives. We're being primitives, and we're making big boom to make rocket go sky. Big boom, make rocket go sky. When we could just be manipulating fusion, cold fusion, and getting infinite free green energy. Elon Musk, what the fuck are you doing, bro? What are you doing, bro? Have you not seen the Pons and Fleischmann documentary, Elon Musk? Solar panels are a scam. Hot fusion's a scam.
I think that, broadly speaking, it's dead. And it will remain dead for a long, long time.
Like, dude, this guy just said it's dead and it's going to remain dead for a long, long time. What is that a way to talk about science and physics? Like, we got to bury people for science to advance? We got to wait for physicists to die for science to advance? Eugene Malov jumps in. He was an MIT scientist. Whoa, Eric Spencer. Hello. Damn, you guys are going crazy. They'll never let us out of Plato's cave. Happy birthday, Eric Spencer. Special peace to you, brother. Much love from MH370X. That's huge. Appreciate that. Have a sip of I don't know, grape juice. It's grape juice, chat. I'm drinking it like a homeless person just to be cool. They'll never let us out of Plato's cave. Probably not. Because we're going to destroy ourselves. They know we're going to destroy ourselves, chat. Eric, that's why. They know we're going to destroy ourselves with this technology, and I think they're just kicking the can down the road. What was just described here. Because like I said, once you understand the framework of how this was all playing out, you can understand why we're in this shithole mess we're in. Because a lot of people won Nobel Prizes because it was just a good old boys club, physics was. It's not anymore. We're taking it back. That's part of what I'm doing here, too, is I'm tearing down all these institutions they built. The media, academia, this disinformation apparatus and control mechanism, tearing that down, tearing down the government's, any belief anyone has in the government, we're tearing that down. All of these facades that have been built, we're just ripping them down, laying it bare for people to see exactly how easily we're manipulated. Sadly, it's easily. So anyway, these people, they got butthurt because they found out, my Nobel Prize is now going to be fraudulent. It's pretty awkward. So this is why I always feel like we have to build on whatever we already knew, as opposed to going back and going, oh yeah, we kind of messed up with this ether thing, guys. Because if we add that back in now, some people lose their Nobel Prizes, or the Nobel Prizes are like obsolete. But here's the good news. Nobel Prize was always obsolete. For the record, I'm only joking about getting the, Pulitzer Prize? See, I don't even know the name because I don't care. I'm just being truthful. I deserve the Pulitzer Prize for showing that what we did to MH370. Even if the videos weren't real, I would still deserve the Pulitzer Prize just for proving that there was a conspiracy related to MH370. The United States government's clearly at fault. I think I've proven that beyond any shadow of a doubt. They know what happened to the plane. But do I really think they're going to give me one? Of course not. They don't give Pulitzer Prizes to YouTubers. Again, because it's this good old boys club. It's me making fun of it, especially not when I say I'm going to rip it up on live stream. Then they're really not going to give you a Pulitzer Prize. So when I'm saying that, I'm not saying that they're really going to give me one. I'm saying that in a joking way where I do more than the next 5 people who are probably going to win Pulitzer Prizes combined in terms of research. I don't even know who won the last Pulitzer Prize. But that's just how much of a joke journalism and the media is. And uncovering cold fusion absolutely deserves a Nobel Prize. Why? Because this was 35 years ago. This was 35 years ago. We've ignored cold fusion. We could have already had this, and we already do. This is why people wonder, like, how far ahead are the defense contractors? How far ahead are the defense contractors? Just do the math, man. That was 35 years ago. The black projects knew cold fusion was possible at least 35 years ago, probably before those guys. And they've been hiding it since, and they've been advancing it, knowing that it works. And they don't care that the public thinks it's fake. That's better. That's classified then. Just literal clown world. It is. So who knows what they have? So when people tell me like, hey, do you think they can do this or that? Shit, man, I don't know. Show me evidence for something and I'll probably believe it. Like they have just straight up magic. They have straight up magic. So basically, hot fusion is a scam, is what it's saying. We've been putting billions of dollars into hot fusion because we've thought you can't get more energy out than you put in. Well, what are we doing then? If you think that you can't get more energy out than we're putting in, how is that sun working? You really think that it's just E equals mc squared and it's just converting mass directly into energy? Maybe, but maybe it's manipulating negative energy as well to help that process along and make that process more slow. It's just another way of looking at the same exact problem. And if we sit there and we just think that there's no other way to get these elements to combine, we have to just force them together, then of course we're going to think that there's no possible way to produce fusion and have it become self-sustaining and efficient. But if we look at the problem differently through this lens of negative energy and it's going below sea level, maybe that's the answer that we need. Maybe the sun is manipulating that effect as well. Maybe it's not as simple as just gravity. And disclaimer, I don't have any proof of that. Just throwing out ideas here, using my free speech that's given to me in this country. But I do think that ITER and all these hot fusions are a scam. I think that the moment somebody is showing experimental production of cold fusion and self-organizing plasmas, that's where we need to be looking into that. Because we want paradigm shifting technology. We don't want, oh, I'm just going to take one more tiny step forward. No, I want to change the whole game. Change the game, bro. Change the game. So this is interesting. So somebody beat them to the punch. So somebody got wind that they were going to the media. So this is crazy. So if I understood this correctly, Pons and Fleischmann were going to the media. And instead, this guy beats them to the media and his results aren't as good. And he's discounting the excess energy, the heat production, which is really the rub of this all. So what? This guy rolls up, beats them to the punch, and has less evidence for it. This is almost exactly what they did with the EM drive. With the EM drive, there was anomalous thrust, and then Harold Sonny White tested the EM drive, also counted anomalous thrust. The Russians tested it and reported huge anomalous thrust. And then NASA just said, oh, it was like because of the heat. It was like because of the heat, dude. Like literally, that's how stupid we are. That's what they said. Like full on surfer. Nah, dude, like those results were like totally because of the heat. Like, what the hell, man? So what the hell? Like this is fucking wild. Like nobody paid any attention to this because it's science and physics and nobody really understood. But yeah, that football comment was so weird, dude. Like nobody said it that has a winning football team or some shit. These guys also, all these engineers and scientists, they're also fucking awkward. They're so awkward. Can we just have one normal dude who like can speak normally to people without being like a weird pompous ass or like some super weirdo? Like this should, like, I can't believe that these people got like cyber bullied into hiding cold fusion. Like this is like the equivalent of like getting canceled by the media. Like 10 years later, they got canceled by the scientific media. They write an article and they accuse them of fraud. They accuse them of fraud. Spoiler alert, they get completely vindicated. But does it matter? No, because the damage has already been done. They're just trying to damage the idea of cold fusion. Right there. They don't want to come together. The particles don't want to come together. But what did we see with the plasma? With the plasma, we were overcoming the particles not wanting to come together, the electrons repelling one another. In the plasma, we see that they do start to come together. And the model that we developed to explain that effect, these EVs, these EVOs, is that the Casimir force must be involved, negative energy pressure. That there must be an offsetting negative energy pressure that's forming, that's allowing these to come together to resist that repulsive effect.
Though his bias.
Oh, and then here we got our man Hazinga here again. So this guy immediately comes out against cold fusion, never probably saw it because they never actually look at the device. They just claim it's impossible, blah, blah, blah. This is why physics community is so useless. My God.
As against cold fusion was well known. Huizinga claimed
Is simply pathological science.
So basically, he's honing in on the alchemy version, the alchemy claim. He's ignoring the excess heat generation claim, which is important because we don't really care whether or not it's producing alchemy. If we're seeing energy production higher than coefficient of performance 1, there's some pretty big questions that need to be asked. Where's that excess energy coming from? Because yes, it's coming out as heat, but it's still, it's over unity. It's free energy. How's that happening? This is the guy that we have to blame. And you notice that his arguments are a lot like what I hear from debunkers. It translates very well. Where he goes, there's no experimental evidence that this actually happened. When you're like, yes, there is. There's a ton of it. You're just discounting it, saying that it doesn't count for whatever reason. This is where when the debunker's like, Ashton just has theories. There's no actual evidence. And you're like, dude, he talks to people for like 3 hours straight about all the evidence and adds it all up to a story where you can come up with your own story if you want, but it's pretty comprehensive in terms of where the story leads us. And they're like, that doesn't count as evidence. None of that counts as evidence. As eyewitnesses, that doesn't count as evidence. Military videos, that doesn't count as evidence. Like the science being real, that doesn't count as evidence. Lithium-ion batteries on the plane, lithium-ion batteries just exploding left and right. That doesn't count as evidence. Like, okay, nothing counts as evidence. Got it. This is the same mentality here. It's like, what about all these people that produced it? That doesn't count. They were incompetent boobs. What about all these other people that reproduced it? Yeah, they don't count either because we didn't reproduce it, so therefore it's not actually possible anymore. He goes, they're calling me pathological science. This is perfect. This is for the people that would say, oh, Ashton's just too far into this to give it up. Guys, I've never been doing this for money ever. I've never charged anybody. Somebody from work asked me, how much money are you getting from the Candace Owens interview? Like, does she split that with you? And I said, none. None. I've never even thought to ask to charge anything. Like, out of all the podcasts I've done, only 2, I think, have ever paid me for my time. And it was like $100 or $200, like respectively, for like a presentation, basically. That was it. I get more money in my live streams than I get from that. So no, I've never been doing this for money, but pathological criticism is where you've dug in that this can't be possible. And because you've decided it can't be possible, you're ignoring all the evidence that it's real because you need to keep your worldview intact. Wait, policy violation? My YouTube feed is down. Well, I'm not sharing the video anymore. Yeah, they got me on the policy violation. That's okay. It'll probably come back here in a second. Oh, let me see. So, crap, what was I saying? Yeah, the critics though in this situation. So this is what happened with cold fusion. So I'll just skip ahead without it. You guys can still see me, right? No, stream's unavailable. Stream suspended for policy violations. Oh, no, we're back. Okay. Yeah, sorry. It was just because I was doing that, showing that YouTube video. So it's always a risk when you are sharing the YouTube videos, because when you show too much of a longer video, then they have some kind of AI thing catching it. And we made 18 minutes through that video. You guys saw enough. I'm gonna unshare that video. So they had cold fusion figured out. They had a bunch of people from the DOE and several academic institutions just jump on it. They had a guy come out and claim some results before Pons and Fleischmann came out. They had people that were critics that there was too much to lose for them to be wrong. We had billions of dollars in hot fusion, which has never produced anything. And the roadmap for producing hot fusion is like another 20 years down the road. It's like I was 20 years in the future. Hot fusion's never produced anything. And cold fusion had more results in the 80s than we've got now from hot fusion in the 2020s. Eugene Malov, he's the guy that wrote a counter book saying that basically, cold fusion's proven and we've just been ignoring it. I think he had a mysterious death. He retired in protest against the fact that MIT was like faking the results. He says that MIT basically faked the results. They like normalized their graph to make it look like there wasn't the fluctuations in the heat. And they just basically lied to the world, and they did like some COVID math, and now all of a sudden a billion people are dying of COVID, but you don't know any of them, and blah blah blah. Like that's basically what they did with cold fusion to like have experimental data that they claim they're not seeing anything, there's nothing really there. Basically the same thing that they did with the EM drive as well. Same thing that they did with LK99. They just go, oh, well, we used our cheapo, reproduction mechanism, and we didn't get clear enough results. And you're like, well, you're going against these people that are using like top of the line fabrication of like basically metamaterials. So yeah, of course you're not going to be able to reproduce the exact same thing. Yeah, I'll put a link to the video in my in the description here afterwards. Now, let me see if there's anything we can show that won't get us banned. Actually, that's pretty much all the links I had, I think, for tonight. Did I show this already? Let me see. No, I didn't. Okay, let me show one more thing here. Because to me, I mean, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. So I asked Salvatore Paez if he knew Ken Shoulders, because I'm just seeing so many connections between Salvatore Paez's high energy electromagnetic field generator and Salvatore Paez and the idea of plasma and Ken Shoulders' work. So Salvatore Paez says he'd never met Ken Shoulders, and I don't think he's lying. So I mean, it's just possible that Paez is in a different group underneath the Navy and not a private citizen. And it's also possible that they are all figuring out this same science from different vectors here. I don't really know. What is Queltron injection? I don't know what that means, chat. Wang, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Also, just a big shout out again to Eric Spencer. Thank you. And Justin from earlier for the donations. Appreciate you guys. So the last thing then we'll do here, didn't pop up, is take a look at this other Reddit link. And this was from that main overall link as well. Yeah, what was that guy's name? Hugo Anta or whatever from the DOE. Man, why did he screw us over so hard? So this was after the Kurt Jaimungal interview with Salvatore Paez. And I've watched the Kurt Jaimungal interview with Salvatore Paez again, actually, recently. And I've kind of decided that, like, wow, we're already, if you've been watching my live streams like pretty consistently, you're already further ahead than most PhD physicists are on the ideas of negative energy and Schwinger limit and all this stuff. Like, if to them, it's like a sci-fi thing that they just don't even really understand. And they can get it. They can get the ideas because they're familiar with the scientists like Dirac and stuff who've said it, but they just don't really consider it in a serious way. So this guy watched the interview and said that it reminded him a lot of the EVOs and Ken Shoulders' work. Look, this is the same guy. Same guy. His cake day is March 8th, 2014. This guy started his account the day the plane disappeared. How weird is this? I find the values that Paez claims for vacuum polarization for space-time metric engineering. This is a Hal Puthoff term. Engineering the space-time metric, engineering the vacuum. That's clearly what Salvatore Paez is talking about here. So now we understand very clearly what we're doing. How are we manipulating the vacuum? Very powerful electromagnetic fields. Very powerful electromagnetic fields are polarizing the vacuum. We're creating regions where we're manipulating the 0-point energy, but on a macroscopic scale. He claims magnetic fields of 10 to the 9 Tesla and energy densities of 10 to the 25 joules per meter cubed will pull it off. This is not that much higher than that Schwinger limit laser thing we were looking at earlier. That was getting up to 10 to the 20. So this is just 10 to the 25. He points out that his biggest hurdle was convincing the patent officer that this was possible. He claims it is, but he can't tell us how. I'm going to speculate how. It could be with exotic vacuum objects. This guy probably got killed, bro. I hope EFH1 is alive out there, because this is the kind of post you don't make unless, like, you know, you feel comfortable when people come knock on your door. Because, bro, you're just EFH1. If EFH1 disappears, like, no one's going to ever know. Could be exotic vacuum objects? Absolutely. I'm 100% convinced we've produced balls of plasma that are much bigger and self-coherent and self-organizing that we can fly around like a drone. Maybe aliens figured it out too. I don't know, but I've seen enough to be convinced that the U.S. government or defense contractors or both have these capabilities. In this paper, it's shown that EVOs can reach 10 to the 6 Tesla and 10 to the 19 joules per meter cubed. So this was what, this was the one I was showing earlier. So that was the paper. And then that paper here, this paper is the one that's got Hal Fox in it. This is the one showing on page 40. No, 1140 up here. Right here. 6.4 times 10 to the 19 joules per meter cubed. And so how do we increase this? Well, we just increase the frequency of our laser, and then we're going to achieve this. But we can probably do it without the laser too, if we can just manipulate the wave function of the plasma itself. Am I sharing the right one? Oh, I'm not sharing the right one. There you go. Anyway. Okay, guys, I think that's where we're going to cut it off here tonight. So highly recommend, if you're interested, I'll put this link in the chat. This EFH1 guy, great work on his part. He had another post as well, but this is like this crazy amount of deep dive. To me, to find out that Ken Shoulders is connected to Hal Puthoff, that the EVOs are a very close analogy to Salvatore Paez, that's huge to me. So there's the link in the chat, guys. We're definitely able to manipulate energy densities that are breaking the Schwinger limit. We're doing what Eli Prigogine said, and we're ripping through that fabric of that energy that's out there. We're creating this equilibrium, and we create this equilibrium, and we pull photons out of there. We tap into the medium. We can produce propulsion, and we can potentially use that to produce balls of fusion that can move around, balls of plasma that show cold fusion, negative energy. Okay, guys. Yeah, create a wormhole in sphere weave ether ahead of a spacecraft and turn off a generator at destination faster than light travel. Yeah, manipulate the medium, right? We can do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll give us a Discord invite. Yes. Monday, I think we're still going to do some more Malaysian Airlines Mondays, but I may start changing them up. It is important to always, I think, remind people of what we did to the plane. We would never have figured out all of this science and physics without seeing it in those videos. But we have to remember that 239 people, potentially lost their lives, ? In this event right here. I mean, look at those orbs. Look at those spheres right there. And look at how they reorient right here. Right here in this moment, they're reorienting. They come out right there, and now you can see clearly the heat signature again. And then they collapse. Look at that heat signature. Cold fusion. This collapse here, I don't know how anyone would even think of coming up with that collapse. Scary stuff, man. I hope that's not how I go out. But if you're going to orb me away, orb me to Diego Garcia, chat. Okay, guys. Thank you, guys. Hope you enjoyed Free Energy Friday. Free energy is real. Space is not empty. All points in space and time are connected. We can produce unlimited energy from the ether. 0-point energy is real. MH370 videos are real. Thank you, MH370X. I love you. Peace out, everyone.
In the fields where the skies are wide, talking about a journey through the cosmic ride. Einstein and Thorne, they set the stage for a trip through time across the space age. Wormholes connect distant points in space, traversable paths to a far-off place. No black holes pull, no crushing weight, just a cosmic tunnel to a distant gate.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow. We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
Exotic matter, negative energy's the key to stabilize the wormhole for you and me. Quantum vacuum squeezed so tight, creating conditions for this wondrous flight. Static fields and lasers in the lab they play, generating forces in a new kind of way. Gravitational squeezing, Casimir's force, negative zones we need to stay the course.
Talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy, travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
Thin shell formalism plates so fine, spherical geometry we realign. Energy conditions that we must defy. For a stable wormhole, let's give it a try. Forces balancing the plate, creating the throat, open the gates, from Earth to the stars in a single bound, a shortcut through space profound. Engineers and dreamers hold the key to future worlds and what we could be. With science in hand, we forge ahead through the cosmic paths that we now tread.
We're talking wormholes, stargates, negative energy. Travel through the cosmos, it's our destiny. MH370, where did it go? Boeing 777 through a wormhole flow.
From the fields to the stars, we break the chains. Understanding the universe, we make the gains. Lil Hula Crunk shines, bringing truth to light. Through his music, we'll explore the night. With wormholes and stars.